Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Rp-0. We are starting today off around Mars again, and this is the descent stage for our semi-reusable Mars landing system that is going to attempt to make an aero-braking pass around Mars and put itself hopefully into an orbit where we can then aero-brake down and make rendezvous with Harmonia Station, our ultimate goal, so we can mate it to the ascent stage and finally get on with a crewed Mars landing again, which we've not really been able to do because, well, 2 years ago, in-game, not real 2 years, and it's weird that I have to specify that now, we sent one of these out and we went too deep into the Mars atmosphere on aerobrake and ended up being an EDL with a really bad L, a big L there at the end. So we are coming in a whole lot faster this time. I think our general speed at point of engine ignition, where we light up that delta lower stage, is going to be about 10 kilometers per second. We'll bleed off almost a click and a half of that off that HG3 engine and its final ignition before actually hitting the Mars atmosphere and hopefully letting drag do the rest of the work for us. There is engine light on the HG3s. We're going to attempt to burn off some of this while very, very closely monitoring that altitude at periapsis, trying to very finely control how low we're going to go into the Martian atmosphere. Through experiments in my off time, I figured out that somewhere between 45 and 47 was about the golden zone that should put us in a highly eccentric orbit, all other problems notwithstanding. So that's where we were going. I think we were kind of shooting for right around the 46, 47 mark, give or take. It's been a week since I've recorded this footage live on Twitch, by the way. So my memory is just a little bit hazy on what exactly the periapsis I was shooting for was trying to be. But I think 47 was about my goal, which, you know, figures. Not nearly as magical as it could have been. But, you know, it still works. Still pretty good. So we are just waiting for signal delay to finally catch up with us so we can separate from that delta upper stage and put our heat shield into the wind. And hopefully the two events will be far enough apart to not cause a myriad of problems like that stage coming back and slamming into us and, you know, taking other little bits and pieces of things with us. So, you know, that's always a problem. Signal delay is kind of a fun metric to work around, and believe me, if it wasn't kind of fun having to try to dial in some of these things sometimes, I probably would have scrapped remote tech a long time ago, as it does just increase the lagginess of Rp-0 tenfold easily. So there's our separation, and we have pushed ourselves off to the side a little bit so as to not incur a collision event, and we get a hopefully spectacular view of the delta upper stage blowing up and shifting into many pieces. There it all goes. Just a quick check on how much ablator we actually have before we'll bring this down into real speed. The camera shake going a little crazy. There's our ablative struts starting to pop, which is completely normal. And a couple bit firing there on the thrusters, trying to help slow us down just a little bit. There is the rest of our ablative struts starting to go. Again, this part completely normal. Poof, 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 poof. And a little bit of balance, tipping that heat shield so that we angle deeper into the Martian atmosphere by just a little bit, when all of a sudden, yeah. And we can see here in the F3 menu, if we scroll down far enough and hopefully try to find, yeah, there's the, looking for where the struts end, and then, yeah, the N1 Block B/V interstage exploded due to overheating, which is quite curious because it is several parts separated from the heat shield and absolutely insulated from the airflow. So there's really I have a hard time accepting that this is a legit thing, especially we consider here's the heat shield and the bottom cup of the aero shell for docking, and the entire assembly that blew up sits inside of this. Yeah, made it to that Saturn core there, and yet this survived and would have blocked all the airflow. We actually did another experiment live on the live stream where we didn't go quite as deep into the atmosphere, but it wasn't quite enough to capture into orbit without any of these events happening. And honestly, I have seen this reflected in my offline testing on my laptop version of this save, that if you do an aero brake pass and it doesn't quite work, and then reload it and do it again, it's almost a guarantee that somehow that N1 block part is going to overheat and explode, making it delightfully unreliable for these sorts of things. And so, well, we might just have to abandon this lander project and, well, try our luck with a new system, since we're not going to be taking a crew down this window anyway, which is a massive disappointment to me, especially because we were able to capture into orbit finally. So moving swiftly along, we're going to take yet another SKS shuttle flight into low Earth orbit with our three brave Kerbals, Lee Bowman, Alan Elliott, and Victoria Bell, all sitting at the controls today. This is bringing up our new habitation module. No, this is bringing up the greenhouse modules as well as life support supplies. Sorry, this is the shuttle payload that we built out last episode with the new kind of experimental greenhouse parts that we're going to see if we can use them to help sustain a crew during very long interplanetary travels. But we do need to test to make sure that it can work in time warp. With TAC life support being kind of glitchy and silly as it can be, it's very, very, very important that we test our equipment before we risk a real crew with it. And well, this is just one more step in that. We are not going to leave the crew docked or attached to this project currently. We're just going to get things bolted up, see if they worked, maybe bring up a docking adapter next time or something like that, so that we can have a vessel on standby to bring any crew home should any problems manifest themselves. Also, as it would turn out, that we are actually a lot closer to our maximum rated tonnage on this flight than I guess I had initially anticipated, which is something we actually haven't put this vessel at capacity in such a long time. I guess I kind of forgot, how to fly. Or at least how to pay attention. That would be the big problem here, is just that I forgot how to pay attention. You'll see here as we approach Miko that I have not pitched the nose down to help deal with our very swiftly climbing apogee, which has eclipsed 1.4 million meters, while our periapsis still sits at a negative 24 kilometers. So we're going to have to fire the OMS as a real shuttle would and boost our periapsis, hopefully, up to rendezvous altitude. It turns out we were not that far from our target initially, I guess, in our orbit. But however, yeah, we're way off base and we're near maximum tonnage, so we don't really have a lot of delta V to work with. I forgot to lock the tanks for our payload, so this 300 meters per second that you are seeing on our Mech Jeb stats includes some fuel that was kind of earmarked for our project, and as well as some powering issues that we're having currently, because these greenhouses apparently, even at idle, consume a very massive amount of power. So we have locked their batteries and isolated them from the shuttle system so that we can keep the crew area powered up and alive and, I don't know, running, functional with all the electronics and stuff. Lord help them if they lose that GameCube. So yeah, we're basically going to bring what is essentially going to be a completely drained set of batteries and non-functional avionics to an in-orbit project that we don't really know if we will have the fuel to dock with it. The first big problem is we don't even know if we can reach said orbital rendezvous because we are just so incredibly out of position. So we're going to shift some things around and see how much fuel that we actually have remaining for inevitably a decision was made to jettison one of the life support tanks just to see if maybe dumping 30 of our 90 tons would help improve our Delta V situation somewhat. You can see here we are making a braking burn to try to lower our apogee significantly in hopes that maybe we can get somewhat better of an encounter later on. We're trying to still dial this in, and we do actually get a node. We're close enough in our path now to maybe make something worthwhile out of this, but 500 kilometers is the most we're going to get on this pass. We'll choose to loop it around again to where we will get another node that is roughly something like 300 some odd meters per second, which we obviously do not have. If we want to preserve the RCS fuel, we will need to bring the crew home safely. We have 93 meters per second remaining, which brings up some interesting decisions that will have to be made in the next episode as far as what exactly we're going to do with this thing, and if we can bring it on station at all, or if we have to abandon it altogether and just bring our crew home safe. So that's going to do it for this one, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it, and I will see all of you in the next one. Until then, see you later.